My stepson Leo has always been a quiet kid. Since I married his dad 5 years ago, our relationship has been polite. We weren't exactly close, but we coexisted peacefully. He was 12 then, and now at 17, he's even more withdrawn, spending most of his time locked away in his room. His dad, Mark, said it was just typical teenage behavior, but I always felt there was something more going on. A wall he built so high, I couldn't see over it. One Tuesday afternoon, I got home from work early. The house was unusually quiet. Mark was still at his office, and Leo's car was in the driveway, which meant he was home from school. Usually, I'd hear the faint sound of his video games or music, but today there was only silence. I called his name from the bottom of the stairs. "Leo, you home?" No answer. A knot of unease started to form in my stomach. I told myself I was being silly, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I climbed the stairs, my heart starting to beat a little faster. His door was slightly ajar. I hesitated. I've always respected his privacy, never going into his room without knocking. But the silence was just so heavy. I pushed the door open gently and peeked inside. What I saw made my breath catch in my throat. The room was a mess, which wasn't unusual, but this was different. Clothes were everywhere, books were knocked off shelves, and in the middle of it all, Leo was sitting on the floor, his back to me. His shoulders were shaking. He was crying. Not just crying, but sobbing, deep, gut-wrenching sobs that shook his whole body. My first instinct was to rush in and comfort him, but I froze. I'd never seen him like this. He was always so composed, so distant. Seeing him so vulnerable was a shock. I quietly stepped back, pulling the door almost closed, my mind racing. What could have happened? Did he get bad news? Was he being bullied? 100 different scenarios flew through my head, each one more terrifying than the last. I decided to give him a few minutes, hoping he would calm down. I went downstairs, made a cup of tea I didn't want, and just waited, my ears straining for any sound from his room. After about 15 minutes, the crying subsided. I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and went back upstairs. This time I knocked softly. "Leo, it's me. Can I come in?" There was a long pause, then a muffled, "Yeah, whatever." I opened the door and walked in. He was still on the floor, but now he was just staring blankly at the wall, his face red and blotchy. I sat down on the edge of his bed, a safe distance away. "Are you okay?" I asked gently. He just shrugged, not looking at me. The silence stretched on, thick and uncomfortable. I decided to try a different approach. "Look, I know we're not." Super close, I started, fumbling for the right words. "But I care about you, Leo, and it hurts me to see you like this. You don't have to tell me what's wrong if you don't want to, but please know I'm here. If you need to talk or scream or just sit in silence, I'm here." He still didn't say anything, but I saw his jaw clench. I waited. It felt like an eternity. Finally, he spoke, his voice hoarse. "You wouldn't get it." "Try me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He took a shaky breath and finally turned to look at me. His eyes were filled with so much pain it was like a physical blow. It's my art," he whispered. I was confused. His art? Leo loved to draw. He was incredibly talented, filling sketchbook after sketchbook with amazing designs and characters. "What about your art?" I asked. He pointed to a crumpled ball of paper near his desk. I applied for the summer program at the Art Institute downtown. The one I've been talking about for years. My heart sank. I knew how much that program meant to him. It was a prestigious intensive course for promising high school artists. "You didn't get in?" I asked softly. He shook his head, a fresh wave of tears welling up in his eyes. "I got the email today. They said my portfolio was unrefined, that I lacked foundational skills." He spat the words out like they were poison. "All this time, all the work. Everyone always told me I was good. You, Dad, my teachers, were you all just lying to me?" That question hit me like a ton of bricks. Leah always encouraged him, praised his talent. Was it just empty praise? "No, Leo, of course not," I said firmly. "We weren't lying. You are talented. Incredibly talented." I stood up and walked over to his desk, picking up one of his sketchbooks. I flipped through the pages, filled with intricate fantasy landscapes and dynamic characters. "Look at this. The creativity, the imagination. This is amazing." He just scoffed. "Apparently not amazing enough. Rejection is a part of life, Leo," I said, sitting on the floor next to him, "especially for artists. You're going to face 100 no's for every yes. The most famous artists in history were rejected, told they weren't good enough. It doesn't mean you stop. It means you work harder. It means you prove them wrong. He looked at me, a flicker of something in his eyes. Hope? I wasn't sure. What if they're right? He asked quietly. What if I'm just not good enough? Then you get better, I said, meeting his gaze. Foundational skills? We can get you a tutor. We can sign you up for classes. Unrefined? That just means you have a raw, unique style that they don't know how to categorize yet. That's a good thing. It means you're original. I could see him processing my words. The defensive wall around him was starting to crumble brick by brick. For the first time, he wasn't just my stepson. He was a young man with a broken heart and a shattered dream, and he was letting me in. We sat there for almost an hour just talking. I told him about my own failures, the jobs I didn't get, the projects that fell apart. I told him how each failure taught me something and ultimately made me stronger. He listened, really listened. He started telling me about his ideas, the stories behind his characters, the worlds he wanted to build. The passion in his voice returned, replacing the despair. It was the most we had ever talked in 5 years. When Mark came home, he found us in the kitchen, looking up online art classes together. He looked surprised, but a slow smile spread across his face. Later that night, after Leo had gone to bed, after actually saying goodnight to me, Mark hugged me. Thank you, he said. I don't know what you did, but thank you. I just smiled. I didn't do much. I just walked into a room, saw someone in pain, and decided to stay. That day changed everything. It wasn't a magic fix. Leo still has his teenage moods, but the wall is gone. We talk now about art, about school, about nothing at all. I help him with his portfolio, and he even asks for my opinion sometimes. He didn't get into that summer program, but we found another one, a smaller one focused on those foundational skills. He's thriving. Sometimes the most unexpected moments, the ones that start with shock and fear, can lead to the most beautiful breakthroughs. All it takes is knocking on a closed door and being willing to sit on the floor with someone until they're ready to stand up again. Thanks for watching our story today. If you've ever had a breakthrough moment with a family member, we'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true stories. See you next time.